The Marine Toys for Tots foster care program is bringing hope to children who need it most. Every 2 minutes, a child enters foster care, often with only a small bag of belongings. More than 400,000 children face trauma and uncertainty, many before age 8. This May, during Foster Care Awareness Month, Toys for Tots is creating Room for Joy. In 2025, nearly 375,000 children received comfort through toys, books, and essentials, reminding them they are not alone. Donate now and change a child's life.
Excuse me! Taxi!
Come on, what are you doing? This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Ross Coulthart, welcome to the other side of midnight. I'm going to shut up and let you run.
Good evening, Walter. Yes, this is a very exciting day coming tomorrow. Multiple reports indicate the White House and the Pentagon will begin releasing the first batch of UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena files, probably tomorrow morning. This is going to include testimonies from pilots and probably also what I'm told is one very dramatic video. I was talking to somebody earlier on today who told me that it puts beyond doubt that there is clearly something anomalous operating in our atmosphere, in our low Earth orbit, and also underwater in ways that defy human technology. But what we're not going to see at this stage, Walter, I think is an admission by the White House that the government and the Pentagon and the intelligence community have been lying to us for the last 80 plus years. I think that's going to take a bit of time. But I think what we are going to see is the beginning of an acknowledgement that, yes, it's no longer tenable for the US government to claim that there is no evidence of non-human intelligence engaging with this planet. And I think what we're going to see is a very slow rollout. They're not going to come out and make an announcement and say, yes, there are aliens. Yes, we have recovered craft. Yes, we have alien bodies. They're just going to slowly start releasing videos. And this event tomorrow, we don't quite know what structure it's going to take. We're not going to be sure what's in it. But there's a broad indication that this is the beginning of a long, slow rollout. And what I'm being told, Walter, by people in the administration is that President Trump is taking advice at the moment on how far to go. He's cautious about revealing all. The US indubitably has been lying to the American public for 80 years. Don't believe what President Obama said earlier this week. Former President Obama, came out and declared that there's just no truth to the claim that there are any alien spacecraft that have been recovered by the military, and he poo-pooed the idea that aliens, non-human intelligences are engaging with this planet. But I'm very sorry, former President Obama, qualified what he said by limiting his disclosure to what he was told during his presidency. And that's a very important distinction. Obama, I'm told by my sources, was briefed about UAPs after his presidency, as presidents are entitled to be. And he was told a degree of information about UAPs. I think, though, like most presidents, it's very much confined to the notion that, yes, there are these unexplained objects in our skies. We do agree that they're anomalous, and I think that's what the public's going to get told tomorrow. But what we're not going to get told, at least not in these early stages, is that the United States has recovered alien technology and alien bodies. That's going to take a little longer, Walter.
Ross Coulthart, News Nation, Sydney, Australia. When we see these videos or this information roll out from the government about UAPs, UFOs, how would you suggest we view it? What should we look for? What should we ignore? Do you have any tips?
Yeah, sure. Lou Elizondo, who's the former head of the Pentagon's UFO investigations, actually coined the 5 observables. And he says that when you're looking at videos like this, or indeed when you're looking at phenomena in the sky, you should firstly look for some kind of plausible explanation, some kind of prosaic explanation. So by all means, go to Flight Tracker, go to ADS-B data, and make sure it's not an aircraft, make sure it's not a helicopter or a drone. They all transmit on transponders, and you should be able to rule that out. You should also look, if it's especially at nighttime, you should look to see if it's a satellite, and you can do that as well using satellite tracking apps. But the five observables that Lou described to describe things that are anomalous are objects that show hypersonic speeds, moving at, in some cases, the blink of an eye, thousands of miles an hour. They are capable of instantaneous maneuvers. They can turn a right-angled turn literally straight away. There's no slowing. There's no deceleration to turn a corner. They're capable of stealth. They're capable of transmedium. They can go from water to air, from air into orbit, into the vacuum of space. And perhaps most interestingly of all, they have no visible means of propulsion. There's no jets, there's no turbines. Often they don't display any kind of heat source, but they are solid objects in many cases. They're clearly displaying a radar signature. So nobody knows quite how these objects are able to move themselves through the sky. And those five observables are complemented by one that people are increasingly beginning to talk about, which is that these objects often interact with human consciousness. A lot of experiencers, a lot of people who see these objects often describe how the object appears to be communicating with them. It's expressing intention towards the human observer. I know that sounds weird, but these are the five, or if you believe it, the six observables. And this is what the people investigating this phenomenon use to assess things as anomalous.
Now, I know, Ross Coulthart, that you have experienced mind control of these objects. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's one way of putting it. I've seen people who call themselves psionics, Psionics, and they have the capacity to telepathically connect with the phenomenon. And in one case, I had a guy tell me at 4 o'clock in the afternoon that we were going to see a blue hexagonal orb at 10:30 that night. He couldn't have been more precise. And there is absolutely no way that he could have faked what I saw. What I saw at 10:30 at night was a blue hexagonal orb moving apparently intelligently. And indeed, when it coalesced, when it started moving in shape, it actually took on the form, Walter, of multiple humanoid faces moving in a translucent cloud of blue haze. It was quite the most extraordinary thing I've ever seen.
You who have studied this, a true journalist, if they don't propel with a heat source, if they don't leave a heat trace or an exhaust, speculating, how do you think these are propelled?
I think there's an anti-gravity system at play here. I think that there is a type of science that we do not yet understand. Modern physics has not yet found the answer, but it's quite clear there's a Mexican physicist called Miguel Alcubierre who hypothesized that within the laws of physics, it would be possible to move at speeds apparently faster than the speed of light by displacing space in front of an object. And the object's not actually moving at the speed of light, but it's displacing the space in front of the object in a way that allows it to do exactly the same thing. It's called the Alcubierre drive, and everybody accepts that the physics is sound. What is commonly said is that we simply lack the energy systems to actually design such a propulsion system. But I think someone has.
And that's probably the technology that's valuable to us, that we have probably been protecting for a very long time. Ross Coulthart of News Nation, any other advice, any other tips on the eve of the life-changing event in history that's going to take place tomorrow and over the next few weeks? Any other advice?
My advice would be very strongly, Walter, don't get too excited. There's a pushback happening from the gatekeepers, the people who don't want you to know. I have people in the so-called legacy program who say that there is an enormous push against the White House's move for disclosure, and that what we're being given at the moment really are the crumbs from the side of the plate. The US knows a lot more than it's revealing about the phenomenon, but there's a real fear that to reveal the crown jewels, to reveal what the US really knows and what it really has, would compromise to our foreign adversaries, Russia and China, things that we don't want to compromise. But I'm broadly sympathetic with that, but I do think the public have a right to know that we are not alone.
Ross Coulthart, News Nation. How do we find you on News Nation? How do we find you on social media?
You can go to YouTube. Ross Coulthart Reality Check is the name of my show. And on social media, Twitter, for example, and Instagram and others, you'll find me under Ross Coulthart, at Ross Coulthart.
Ross Coulthart, News Nation, thank you for being on the other side of midnight. Walter Sterling and all of America, thank you very much, Ross. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard exclusive information, exclusive observations from Ross Coulthart. You won't hear it anyplace else. He gives this to us every Tuesday night and Thursday night. He is the most professional UFO, UAP observer in America. But he's in Sydney, Australia, and he's live. And you know why we love Sydney, Australia, don't you? We love Sydney, Australia because there are no health clubs. There are no gyms. The people of Sydney, Australia are born looking like Elle Macpherson. They are born perfect. They're all blonde. None of them have ever they don't know what a phys ed is. They don't know what a gym is. They come out. They are beautiful. They are shiny, shimmering in the noon sun. And then they go to Bondi Beach. Now, what do we know about Bondi Beach? The men are required to wear Speedos and nothing else, and the women are required to be topless. It's not a topless optional beach. It's not a top is optional beach. It's topless is mandatory beach. This is what you've wanted all your life. You have wanted to sit next to somebody at work, think, boy, it would be great to see her topless, not in a misogynist way, not in an evil way, but in a respecting art way. Respecting art. You're sitting there next to Susan, you think, gee, I'd really like to see her topless. For you and me to see her topless would require what? A gold card? A vice presidency? 6 months of begging. That's New Jersey foreplay. And then it'd be hit or miss. Meanwhile, if you're in freaking Sydney, Australia, or the south of France, all you have to do to see Susan topless is what? Hey, Susan, let's go to the beach. Is there a bigger reason to despise the men of Sydney, Australia, or the south of France than that? You and I are talking about UAPs, UFOs, and the disclosure tomorrow. The United States of America, thanks to the great President Donald Trump, is going to release information that they have about UFOs, UAPs. They're going to release the information, not all at once. That would be too good a show. We can't have that. Americans couldn't handle it. But they have already summoned major religious leaders to meetings in Washington, D.C., to discuss with them as to how exactly they're going to let their flock know about this and what it means relative to God. What does it mean relative to God? Walter Sterling, Red Apple Audio Networks, the other side of midnight.
Roger Stone here. Every day you wait, your money loses value, but gold and silver don't follow those same rules. American Sovereign Bullion gives you access to a nationwide wholesaler network, helping you secure aggressive pricing on real physical metals. Call 844-272-2428 now to get your free gold and silver guide to learn how to protect your wealth with physical gold and silver, delivered right to your door or with a gold IRA. Visit asbgold.com. That's asbgold.com for your free gold and silver guide today.